The year for Disney looks pretty busy, and there are some major releases that Disney's going to test throughout 2026, and it's like there's something for everyone. We'll be getting Marvel releases like Wonder Man and the second season of Daredevil, kids will have Toy Story 5 and the live-action Moana, and even Frozen 3. But that's not all. There are going to be a bunch of Star Wars releases as well, and in this video, I'm going to explore exactly all of this and more. So without wasting time with a like and subscribe request, or extending the intro any further, let's just cut to the chase and explore every major movie and TV show from Disney that's going to be released in 2026 and beyond. Let's begin.
I was born to play this character. Acting.
1. Wonder Man miniseries, January 27th, 2026. Marvel kicks off 2026 with Wonder Man, especially at a time when the Marvel roster is filled with street-level stories like Spider-Man Brand New Day and Daredevil Born Again. Plus, there's the boss of all Marvel movies waiting in the corner to show up. Yeah, I'm talking about Avengers Doomsday. Sliding Wonder Man into that lineup seems like there's something that Marvel is planning that we don't know of yet. This Disney Plus series stars Yahya Abdul-Mateen as Simon Williams, a rising actor whose life, as one can expect, changes entirely once he gets superpowers. The series premieres on January 27th, 2026, and Marvel has decided to do something a little different this time. Instead of the regular routine of a short premiere followed by weekly episodes, every episode of Wonder Man will release on the same day. Season 1 includes 8 episodes, but you really don't need to worry about binging it all in a day because the episodes are short. Most episodes land around the 30-minute long mark, while the longest clocks in at 34 minutes, the shortest being 23 minutes. All being told, the full season runs close to just 4 hours, which, if you think about it, is like a couple of movies long. The direction duties are shared by 4 people, and each of them takes care of a couple of episodes. The opening pair of episodes comes from Destin Daniel Cretton, the man who did Shang-Chi and The Legend of the Ten Rings, and he's also doing Spider-Man Brand New Day. Episodes 3 and 4 fall to James Ponsoldt, known for The Spectacular Now and The Circle. Episodes 5 and 6 come from Tiffany Johnson of How to Die Alone, while the final 2 episodes are directed by Everything filmmaker Stella Meggy. Interestingly, the binge release has raised eyebrows, mostly because Marvel rarely does this with live-action shows. The only real precedent was Echo. Some see it as a warning sign, but personally, I don't buy that. Marvel has spoken openly about how unusual Wonder Man is within the superhero space, and when something is inherently different, you use a different approach towards it too. There are also practical reasons. Short episodes work far better when viewed together, and an 8-week calendar would push dangerously close to Daredevil Born Again Season 2, which arrives in March. This way, both shows get room to breathe. And speaking of the Man Without Fear, let's check out 2. Daredevil Born Again Season 2, March 2026. Season 1 of Daredevil Born Again took a bit of time to happen, I agree. The revival of The Man Without Fear went through a full creative overhaul after 6 episodes had already been shot. Now this sort of stuff is still not unheard of, but it's surely strange. Somehow it worked, and Season 1 did great among fans. Marvel knew what it had on its hands too, because Season 2 went into production before the first season even premiered. In the finale, New York was on a knife's edge as Wilson Fisk, now Mayor Kingpin, declared martial law and began deporting political dissidents and personal enemies to a secret international prison. This is where Season 2 will start. And I'm not surprised that Season 3 has already been greenlit, with plans to start filming around the time Season 2 airs. There's going to be a March release for Season 2, and it would open the door wider to the Netflix side of the universe. Season 1 kept characters like Luke Cage and Danny Rand at arm's length, with only the Punisher fully in play. However, Kristen Ritter returns as Jessica Jones. There's still no word on Luke or Danny, but with Season 3 already confirmed, there's speculation that even they might eventually turn up on the screen. Dario Scardapane continues to remain the showrunner after steering the Season 1 reshoots. The core cast returns as well, and Eldon Henson appears again as Foggy Nelson through flashbacks. Deborah Ann Woll also returns as Karen Page, following her reunion with Matt in the finale. Camila Rodriguez will be back as Angela Del Toro, and with her uncle gone, her path towards the White Tiger mantle has become almost destined. New faces include Lily Taylor and Matt Lillard in undisclosed roles. Story-wise, Season 2 picks up directly after the cliffhanger. Fisk's Red Hook operation, revealed to be outside U.S. jurisdiction, will be central to the plot, especially now that Frank Castle has escaped. Foggy's return suggests there is still more to uncover about what he found and why it cost him his life. As for ties to Avengers Doomsday, I wouldn't expect much. Kingpin mentioned Spider-Man once or twice, but that's about it. So I guess either Fisk would lose power before long, or the larger MCU crisis would make his reign irrelevant. Either way, Born Again seems content to keep its focus on the street where it belongs. 3. Star Wars: The Mandalorian and Grogu, March 22, 2026. Disney is doing something very interesting with The Mandalorian and Grogu, and I believe that some would find this development way more interesting than the movie itself at this stage. This film replaces what would have been The Mandalorian Season 4, as Lucasfilm pivots away from an all-TV strategy and pushes Star Wars back onto the big screen. Whether the Disney Plus audience follows Din Djarin into theaters remains to be seen, but it's clear that this Star Wars is testing its theatrical pulse again. The release date is set for May 22, 2026, which makes this the first Star Wars film to hit cinemas since The Rise of Skywalker in 2019. Another December 2026 Star Wars slot vanished from Disney's calendar, which many assumed belonged to the Rey Skywalker project. That film now appears stuck in a script overhaul with a new writer attached. After The Mandalorian and Grogu, the timeline moves past Episode 9 with Sean Levy's Star Wars Starfighter, led by Ryan Gosling, set for May 28, 2027. Story-wise, the film follows directly from The Mandalorian Season 3. Din Djarin, Grogu, and Bo-Katan helped dismantle Moff Gideon's forces, which allowed Mandalore to return to Mandalorian hands. Din then struck a deal with the New Republic to hunt Imperial remnant leaders, and this nudges him straight towards the larger threat teased in Ahsoka Grand Admiral Thrawn's return. With Dave Filoni's event film still years away, this movie will serve as a connective tissue, bridging the smaller adventures with the conflict ahead. Star Wars Celebration 2025 added some concrete details. Sigourney Weaver appears as a veteran rebel aligned with the New Republic, while Jeremy Allen White would voice Radha the Hutt, Jabba's son. A private teaser showed Din assaulting an AT-AT, meeting Zeb Orr relying on Zeb Orrelios, and piloting a bipedal walker alongside Grogu to evade Imperial forces. The public trailer released in September 2025 was more vague and more mood than story, while focusing more on Grogu's antics. It feels like Lucasfilm trusts familiarity more than exposition right now. Pedro Pascal returns as Din Djarin, supported physically by Brendan Wayne and Lateef Crowder. Stephen Bloom will voice Zeb Orrelios, while Johnny Coyne and Hemke Madera would reprise Imperial roles from Season 3. Plenty of familiar faces could appear, but nothing beyond that is confirmed. Oh, and Jon Favreau would be directing the movie from a script he co-wrote with Dave Filoni.
How far I'll go. I am Moana.
4. Moana live action, July 10th, 2026. Disney confirmed this one back in April 2023, when Dwayne Johnson broke the news himself that Moana would return as a live-action film. And yeah, he did it the most Dwayne Johnson way possible, complete with a beach backdrop in Oahu and his daughters by his side. Furthermore, this one seems to be a very personal project for Johnson, as Moana is directly related to his culture, his family, and his late grandfather, High Chief Peter Maivia. Moana reaches theaters on July 10th, 2026, which puts it in Disney's summer slate. Johnson also pulls double duty behind the scenes as producer, alongside Auli Cravalho, who voiced Moana in the animated film, and Lin-Manuel Miranda, whose music helped define the original in 2016. In June 2024, the studio revealed that Catherine Laga'aya, then 17, would take on the role of Moana. Laga'aya spoke about what that meant to her, from her Samoan roots to the chance to represent Pacific Island communities and young girls who rarely see themselves centered on screen. This sense of continuity explains why Cravalho doesn't return for the role. Instead, she serves as an executive producer. She even said that passing the role forward felt like the right thing to do, both for the character and for the culture behind her. As for the supporting cast, John Tui would play Chief Tui, Moana's father, while Frankie Adams would play Sina, her mother. Behind the camera, Disney brought in Thomas Kail, best known for Hamilton, to direct the live-action film, while the script comes from Jared Bush, who wrote the original Moana, alongside Dana Ledoux Miller, a Samoan writer and creator of Thai Cave Rescue. Disney released the first teaser trailer in November 2025, which gave us an early look at Loga'aya as Moana. 5. Toy Story 5, June 19, 2026. The fact that Woody and Buzz parted ways at the end of Toy Story 4 did not slow this franchise down one bit. Bob Iger confirmed the sequel back in February 2023 during Disney's Q1 earnings call, and since then, people have been asking if we really need another Toy Story movie. But you know what they say about Hollywood and cash cow franchises. So yeah, Woody is back. Tom Hanks returns to voice him, even after the character chose life as a lost toy with Bo Peep. The story brings him home for a specific reason. Jesse, now the leader of Bonnie's Room, calls him in to help deal with a new threat. Tim Allen has already said the film leans heavily towards Jesse's perspective, though Buzz and Woody do reunite and work together again. That reunion may not come without friction, since some time has passed and the old dynamic doesn't snap back into place overnight. The central idea hinges on toys versus technology. Bonnie is now 8 years old, and the film asks a blunt question like, how do toys compete with screens? The villain, Lilypad, is a frog-shaped kid's tablet that believes it knows what's best for Bonnie. From its point of view, toys belong to the past, and digital interaction is definitely more than imagination on the floor. That belief puts Lilypad directly at odds with Jesse and the rest of the room. The clash is not about evil for its own sake, it's about control, influence, and attention. The cast is going to be familiar, and Hanks, Allen, and Joan Cusack are all going to return. In fact, Conan O'Brien will also join the cast, and he will be playing a character named Smarty Pants. We only have a teaser trailer so far where Bonnie receives a package and all of Bonnie's toys, including Buzz and Woody, are scared, shivering with fear. Finally, Bonnie opens the package and finds the tablet, which makes Bonnie happy, but Buzz, Woody, and the others are not so excited. The film comes from co-directors Andrew Stanton and McKenna Harris, with Stanton also handling the script. The release date is June 19th, 2026. 6. Frozen 3, November 24th, 2026. On October 16th, 2025, Kristen Bell confirmed that the cast will begin production soon, and that she's already read the script. She, of course, didn't reveal any further details, but at least we have confirmation that the movie is moving forward and already has a script, which, to be honest, is the biggest hurdle for a movie to cross. What Bell did explain is how these films took shape. Early drafts focus more on direction than detail, with broad ideas about where the story should go before the real polishing begins. Disney puts those ideas through countless internal filters, not to water them down, but to refine them. Bell credits that process for why these movies land with the audience as cleanly as they do. However, I must agree that despite all these precautions, Frozen 2 did not charm people like the first one did. Nevertheless, Frozen 3 currently targets a late 2026 release, and Disney has already shared a small piece of visual development. That artwork shows Elsa riding a white horse and Anna mounted on a brown stag, which at least confirms that the sisters remain at the center of the story. Jennifer Lee once again wrote the script, continuing the creative run she began with Frozen and Frozen 2, both of which she co-directed with Chris Buck. The voice cast is also the same, with Belle as Anna, Idina Menzel as Elsa, Jonathan Groff as Kristoff, and Josh Gad as Olaf. Gad has also addressed the wait and revealed that recording has not yet begun, but he did get to see an early preview of the story, and his takeaway is that it justifies the delay. Gad has said for years that sequels should only exist if there is a reason for them, and he believes Jennifer Lee held herself to that same rule. According to him, the story now planned is the biggest the franchise has attempted. That scale may explain why Disney confirmed Frozen 4 alongside Frozen 3. Oh yeah, the fourth movie has also already been confirmed. So yeah, let's just wait for a little while longer and find out for ourselves if the hype that's being created around Frozen 3 is worth it, or if it's just hype for the sake of it. 7. Ice Age 6, February 5th, 2027. Ice Age Boiling Point is the 6th entry in the franchise and will be released in theaters on February 5th, 2027. The announcement came during Destination D23 in Orlando, and this time the herds head somewhere far less frozen. According to Disney, Boiling Point throws Manny, Sid, Diego, Ellie, Scrat, and company into a lost world filled with dinosaurs and lava. Although this plot may read differently, it's essentially the same theme as the previous Ice Age films, with the same mismatched family pushed into unfamiliar territory and forced to adapt yet again. The studios also hinted that this entry works as more of a standalone story, which helps newcomers as much as longtime fans. The last theatrical film, Collision Course, released in 2016 and still pulled in over $400 million worldwide. Since the original debuted in 2002, the franchise has crossed $3.2 billion globally, and even branched into spin-offs and shorts on Disney+. Talk of a sixth film floated around as early as 2016, right after Collision Course. Then came the Disney-Fox acquisition in 2019, which froze development across several projects. In 2021, Blue Sky Studios shut down entirely, taking the original home of Ice Age with it. For a while, that looked like the end. Instead, Disney tested the waters through Disney Plus with the Ice Age adventures of Buck Wild and Scrat Tales in 2022. The response proved the characters still had traction. By late 2024, Disney and 20th Century Animation officially greenlit a theatrical return. Without Blue Sky, 20th Century Animation now leads the project, with Disney overseeing the rollout. The cast will see familiar faces, or voices rather, and Ray Romano, John Leguizamo, Dennis Leary, Queen Latifah, and Simon Pegg will be back. And if I'm being honest, Manny, Sid, Diego, and the rest would just feel wrong without those voices. 8. X-Men 97 Season 2, Summer of 2026. X-Men 97 earned its goodwill by doing one simple thing that all X-Men fans have ever wanted. You see, it picked up exactly where the 90s show left off and gave that show the respect it deserved. Season 1 brought the team back in full force, bright costumes, heavy themes, and no soft edges. Now we know Season 2 is on the way, and Marvel already signed off on a third season as well, and that, my friend, is big news. Meaning, the difference between Seasons 1 and 2 might not be as long as the distance between Seasons 2 and 3. Marvel has confirmed that Season 2 arrives in summer 2026. There is no exact date yet, however. That puts it later than many expected, especially since work on it has progressed for a while. Still, this show deserves my patience, and I've seen that when Marvel takes its time here, it usually pays off. There is a leaked trailer doing the rounds on the internet, and it seems it was released at the New York Comic-Con. What we do know from that footage is that Bishop pulls Wolverine, Cyclops, Jean Grey, Jubilee, and Nightcrawler back to the 1990s after their future detour in Season 1. Wolverine appears in his classic brown and ochre suit from Uncanny X-Men. The real headline, though, is Apocalypse. He finally is here in full comic-accurate form, only after brief hints last season. To understand where Season 2 heads, you have to remember how Season 1 ended. The Magneto Protocol nearly sent Asteroid M into Earth. Professor X repaired Magneto's fractured mind, which saved the planet, but that act scattered the team across time. Rogue, Storm, Xavier, Logan, Beast, Nightcrawler, and Magneto landed in Egypt around 3000 BC. Scott and Jean landed in the far future, around 3960 AD, alongside a young Nathan Summers and Mother Ascani, who comic readers know as Rachel Summers. 6 months later, Forge remained the last X-Man on Earth. Jubilee, Sunspot, and Cable survived, but vanished. Bishop returned to help Forge rebuild. Then the credits rolled, and Apocalypse lifted Gambit's card from Genosha. Ensaba Nur, the man Apocalypse once was, appears in ancient Egypt, and Gambit's comic as one of Apocalypse's horsemen will come to light. Executive producer Brad Winderbaum also teased 2 additional X-teams this season, which hints at a wider mutant board. 9. Vision Quest, Fall of 2026. Marvel has kept Vision in this limbo for a while now, but that's going to change with Vision Quest. And the show will also explain why Vision has been missing for most of the action for such a long time. The series will hit Disney's streaming platform in the fall of 2026, and it brings Paul Bettany back as Vision, albeit in a form that's going to be unresolved, for the lack of a better word. Fans have lived with a certain uncertainty since WandaVision, and the new show positions itself as the third chapter of a loose trilogy that also includes Agatha all along. Marvel debuted the first footage behind closed doors at New York Comic-Con, and it revealed that Bettany returns as White Vision, the rebuilt synthezoid who regained his memories at the end of WandaVision and then vanished. The footage also shows a human-looking Vision, which immediately raises questions about identity. Alongside him appear human versions of Ultron, Jarvis, Friday, and Edith. These are not servants in the usual sense, but recreated AI constructs that greet Vision inside a white mansion. So it seems like the show will focus on artificial life trying to understand itself, among other things. James Spader reprises Ultron, the genocidal AI from Avengers: Age of Ultron. Vision once destroyed Ultron off-screen, yet here he stands again, both as a presence and as a person. The trailer also ends on a brief but loaded shot of an adult Tommy, the son of Wanda and Vision. We last saw Tommy as a child in WandaVision, while his twin Billy appeared aged up in Agatha All Along. That earlier series ended with Billy and Agatha setting up to find Tommy, and Vision Quest looks ready to pick up that thread. The show follows the rebuilt Vision after his departure from Westview, as he searches for meaning with a mind full of memories and no emotional anchor. Showrunner Terry Matalas has compared Vision's arc here to Spock's journey, which suggests tension between logic and identity rather than action-first storytelling. Tom King's 2015 Vision comic run appears to influence the tone, at least in spirit. The cast will also have Todd Stashwick as Paladin, a mercenary who hunts Vision for his technology, alongside Tania Miller as Jocasta, Ultron's comic-born creation who once turned against her maker. Emily Hampshire plays Edith, while Orla Brady voices Friday. Ruarid Mollica appears as Thomas Shepard, a role many suspect ties directly to Tommy. Mary McDonnell also joins in an undisclosed role. We have no confirmation of Elizabeth Olsen's return as Wanda, and in fact, she's said on multiple occasions that she has no involvement with the show, but it would seem a bit off to have a Vision TV show and not have Wanda in it. 10. Star Wars: Dawn of the Jedi, to be determined. Star Wars: Dawn of the Jedi is in a strange but fascinating place on Lucasfilm's slate. It's one of 4 Star Wars movies planned for theaters, yet it looks nothing like the others. This one goes backward, far beyond Skywalkers, Sith, or even the Jedi as we know them. James Mangold's pitch was to tell the story of where the Force tradition actually began. Mangold's film takes place roughly 25,000 years before Star Wars Episode I: The Phantom Menace, and possibly even earlier. According to Mangold himself, the story may focus on the first Force users rather than a formal Jedi Order. The word Jedi might not even exist yet. Instead, the film would trace the spiritual and philosophical roots that eventually shape the Order. That makes it unlike anything Star Wars has put on screen, since canon has never explored this era. Even the High Republic only reaches back a couple of centuries. Star Wars: The Last Jedi introduced the Prime Jedi symbol on Ahch-To, carved into the island that housed the first Jedi Temple. Dawn of the Jedi could explore the person behind that symbol, whether as a single founder or as an idea that takes shape over time. The film may also pull selectively from Legends lore, including ancient figures such as Kala Bryn, Rajavari, and Tersendon, though nothing has been confirmed. There is no cast announced yet, which makes sense given how early the development remains. The only familiar presence from that far back would be Huyang, the ancient droid voiced by David Tennant, who's already appeared in Ahsoka. Concerns about the film's future became apparent when Mangold signed a new overall deal with Paramount. That raised eyebrows, especially since Sean Levy's Star Wars Starfighter moved from announcement to active production at a much faster pace. Lucasfilm has addressed this directly, and Kathleen Kennedy confirmed that Mangold's schedule, including award season commitments, caused delays not disinterest. He remains attached, and Lucasfilm prefers patience over rushing a foundational story. 11. Lando. TBD. Much like the previous entry and the one coming up next, Lando is in that familiar Star Wars limbo where interest stays high, but progress is slow. That probably surprises people who remember how Solo, a Star Wars story, arrived. I mean, the film struggled at the box office, yet one element escaped largely unscathed, and that was Lando Calrissian. Donald Glover's take on the smooth gambler-turned-operator was unique and interesting. Lando has always gotten his place in canon. Billy D. Williams introduced him as a man who plays both sides until the cost becomes too high. He betrays Han to protect Cloud City, then redeems himself by saving Han and leading the rebel fleet at Endor. Strategy, politics, and survival define him. And this complexity explains why Lucasfilm kept circling back to the idea of a standalone project. Disney first confirmed a live-action Lando series in December 2020. Announced during Investor Day alongside several other projects. At the time, it was planned as a Disney Plus show, with Justin Simien attached as creator. Then plans shifted. In September 2023, Lucasfilm confirmed that Lando would no longer be a series. It would become a theatrical feature instead. Around the same period, Donald Glover stepped into a larger role behind the scenes. He and his brother Steven took over writing duties, replacing Simeon shortly before the WGA strike. Glover now serves as both star and co-creator, which signals a more personal approach to the character. Kathleen Kennedy has maintained that interest in the project never faded, even through the format change. Glover is expected to return as a younger Lando, while Billy D. Williams may also appear, depending on where the story lands on the timeline. Emilia Clarke has confirmed she has not been contacted to return as Kira, and there is no word on Alden Ehrenreich's Han Solo. Those gaps are obvious since the film's placement remains undecided. So timeline flexibility might be Lando's biggest strength. The story could sit as a Solo follow-up, exploring how a charming gambler evolves into a city administrator willing to make hard calls. It could also use an older Lando as a framing device, with Williams reflecting on past exploits, while Glover carries the bulk of the story in the dark times. Star Wars has already shown comfort with that structure in projects like Obi-Wan Kenobi and the Book of Boba Fett. But we've seen projects like Rangers of the New Republic stall out completely. Lando now has a second life as a film, but it still needs momentum. For now, it remains a strong idea with the right actor, the right voice, and an open stretch of timeline. 12. Star Wars New Jedi Order 2027. Daisy Ridley keeps telling us that Star Wars Next Jedi Order will be worth it, but hasn't it already been a while now? Ridley has confirmed she does return as Rey, officially announced at Star Wars Celebration 2023, and the story is set roughly 15 years after Star Wars The Rise of Skywalker. Rey is now older, changed, and tasked with rebuilding the Jedi Order, and although this premise sounds rock solid, everything around it feels shaky. Ridley herself admits she has not seen a finished script yet. She tells us that the time jump of 15 years is a positive thing and a chance to rediscover Rey at a different stage in life. I do get the sentiment. I mean, 6 years has passed since Rise of Skywalker, and creative distance can help. But still, the silence around this film grows louder each time Lucasfilm comes onto a big stage and barely mentions it. Case in point, Star Wars Celebration 2025. Well, that was all in this video, guys, and if you liked it, please consider hitting the like and subscribe buttons. Those 2 small clicks from you will help us tremendously in bringing you more of these marvelous videos. Stay safe and have a good one.